Welcome to this morning's webinar on MRSC services. I'm Tracy Burrows. I'm the Executive Director of MRSC, and I'm here with Steve Hawley, our Senior Communications Coordinator. We're going to tell you about the research services that you can access through MRSC, and we're going to emphasize research services. We're not going to be discussing the MRSC Rosters program that connects local businesses with local governments, but if you're interested in that Rosters program, we have a great on-demand webinar that you can access through the Rosters website. Just a couple of technical notes today. You should have received the slides for the presentation via email. You can also simply download them in the handout section of the toolbar. You can submit a question at any time through the toolbar, and we're going to answer them at the end of the webinar. I'm being joined here this morning by Steve Hawley, our Senior Communications Coordinator. I'm here live at the MRSC offices, and Steve Hawley is working remotely from home. I've been the director of MRSC for the past 9 years, and prior to that, worked for local governments in Puget Sound, including the city of Seattle and the city of Kirkland. Steve does a fantastic job as our Senior Communications Coordinator, and he's always looking for ways to make our website even better. So he'll be showing you some of the powerful tools that we have available to you. And we'll be introducing you briefly to other important MRSC staff members that can be a tremendous resource for you a little later in our agenda today. So here is an overview of our agenda, a little bit about who we are, our Ask MRSC service, the other services we provide, our news and training. Steve is going to give a really nice in-depth overview of our website, and then we'll be answering questions that you may have. Last year, we refreshed our strategic plan and developed this beautiful mission statement. The basic essence of it is we want you to be successful. In fact, we want you to look brilliant in front of your boss. So the hallmark of MRSC is a source of timely, trusted, objective information. We've been doing this work for a long time, over 80 years, and we work really hard to respond to your needs. So with that, let's go to the next slide. It'd be really helpful for Steve and I to understand a little bit about the audience out there. So I ask you to take a quick question to identify which agency, what type of agency you work for. Okay, we're finishing up the survey question. Okay, so this is great. This is, this profile, about half cities and towns and, another portion for counties and special purpose districts pretty much mirrors our, what we see in terms of our usage of our Ask MRSC service and the distribution of local governments throughout the state. So good to see we've got a good representative group here. A little bit about MRSC. We know that there are countless sources of information out there on the web, and what distinguishes MRSC from others is that our information is curated. We do the work to comb through literally thousands of documents and distill out local examples that will work for you, so you don't have to waste your time following links to a dead end. We know your time is important. Also, our information is local. We serve Washington State. Everything on our site was developed within the context of Washington State laws and best practices. We're relevant. You tell us what you need and we respond, but more than that, we like to get out ahead of issues. So we identify emerging trends and get that information out to you as you need it. We are independent and nonpartisan. You can trust that our attorneys and our policy staff do not take positions or sides on issues or disputes. We welcome and answer your questions, and we're not your legal representative, so we don't serve as your legal counsel. We work really hard to get the best information available out to you. And we actually welcome submissions of the good work that you're doing so that we can feature them on our website. Here we are by the numbers. We're really grateful for the audience that we have and the staff that take advantage of the services we provide. What is really gratifying is these numbers grow each year, and I feel like we're very effective in getting out to our audience. So thank you for taking advantage of that. So we're going to talk first about our Ask MRSC service, which is one of our premier services. And so we're curious to know how familiar people are with it. So if you could take this second survey, we'll get the answer to that. Just to remind you, the Ask MRSC service is the service that you can use to ask one of our staff members a research question that you may have on any topic under the sun. So you can submit that via email, you can call us. Okay, so here we are. A good percentage say they often use it or occasionally, and then a little, what was it, 60% of us don't use the Ask MRSC service or haven't used it recently. So let's just do a little reminder of what's out there for you in terms of the Ask MRSC service, because you might find that you could take advantage of it more often and it would be very helpful in your job. So what is it? If you work for a city, a county, the state, or you're eligible for the service, hundreds of special purpose districts are also eligible through contracts that we have with our special purpose district partners. If you're not sure whether you're eligible, you can go to the Ask MRSC section of our website, and there's no charge for you for using the Ask MRSC website. So if you've got the question, we've likely got the answer. For example, when I first started my career in Washington, I'd come from a state that had tax increment financing, and I had lots of questions about Washington's limitations on the need and use of redevelopment financing, and MRSC had the answers that I needed. So MRSC staff, which you're seeing here, the consulting staff that answers the inquiry questions, are here to help you. So you can submit a request or a question to somebody in particular if you have someone that you've developed a relationship with on staff, or you know the right person to ask, or you can simply submit a question through our website by email and we'll have the right person assigned to you. So to access the service, you simply click the button on the MRSC website in the upper right-hand corner of the website, submit a question, and that's very simple process. Sometimes, however, there's nothing that substitutes for talking directly to somebody on the phone. So you can bat ideas around, talk confidentially. Sometimes you're not exactly sure what you're looking for. It's good to talk to somebody, so you can call us directly at the numbers that are on the screen. You'll get in response a very thorough and prompt answer. And these are the kinds of questions that we get. They're certainly not exhaustive of the kinds of questions we get, but we get questions on law, like the interpretation of a statute, emerging issues like COVID, questions about the legality of certain revenue sources, conflict of interest questions, examples from other cities and towns, for example, on short-term rental ordinances. Get lots of questions like that. Again, conflict of interest, restrictions on revenue sources. We get a lot of questions about open public meetings and public records, particularly in the context of COVID-19 these days. And we get a lot of personnel questions as well, and election-related questions, which are relevant this time of year. So we generally can get you a really thorough answer, and if we don't have the answer, we'll direct you to a resource that does. We also do training, and our training is primarily through our webinar series. We generally do 2 or 3 webinars a month. We are not doing any in-person trainings right now, and I know that's no surprise, but at times when we can, we do regional one-day workshops that go in depth on topics of finance, public records, and purchasing and contracting. So our trainings are tailored to government staff and really oriented toward giving you very pragmatic tools that you can use on your day-to-day job. So some upcoming trainings that we have, good one for planners, online permitting, that's coming right up. COVID-19 budget strategies, that's a series that we're doing, and you can go to our website under the training tab and find those. First Amendment issues, procurement, that's one of our core areas, purchasing and contracting, and more. We also have a blog where we publish our own content. So we write timely articles on issues that impact your daily work, like here, CARES Act funding for small businesses, diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts of local governments, the impact of COVID-19 on operations and on public meetings. Those are some of the kinds of examples. It's a very good way to keep up with issues that are impacting local governments. We also write on new legislation and new court cases that are relevant to local governments. The easiest way to make sure you're not missing out on blog articles and other timely news from MRSC is to subscribe to our e-newsletters. And you can do that from our website. And they've relatively recently gone through a redesign to make them more readable and accessible. And they've always are chock full of good information for you, that not only MRSC sources, but we scan other news sources that are oriented toward local government and include those in the e-news as well. It's mobile friendly and you can read them on the go. Social media is another way that you can stay informed. In collaboration with the Government Joint Network, we have our Government Performance Consortium Facebook page and group that you can join, a community of practitioners in government innovation and share ideas and discuss issues. Our Twitter feed is another way to keep track of the articles that we write, and just it's another good channel. Many of us have lots of different channels that we get information on, so we're offering that option as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Hawley, who's going to show you where the secret sauce is, the really good stuff on our website.
Great, thank you, Tracy. So in just a minute here, I will actually go to the MRSC homepage and kind of take you for a little tour. But before I do, I just kind of want to provide a very high-level overview. So the MRSC website has a ton of information that is relevant to local governments in Washington State. This is information that, as Tracy said, is curated. The information is written, reviewed, researched by attorneys and our research staff. We have about 400 topic pages that provide legal, policy, and financial guidance on a very wide variety of topics. And as Tracy mentioned, we write typically about 2 new blog posts per week. With COVID, sometimes it's been more than that, that you can access from our website. We also have about 30 in-depth publications that you can download or print that go into a lot of information, a lot of detail on core local government topics. And we have a sample document library that has about 4,000 sample documents. These are examples of ordinances, policies, procedures, job descriptions, RFPs, all sorts of documents that have been adopted and used by local governments here in Washington State. And then the webinars and trainings that Tracy mentioned as well. So I'll go into a little bit more detail about many of these areas here in just a minute. But before I do, it's time for one last survey question. So we'd like to just see how many of you have used the MRSC website recently. And so you can just take a few seconds here to answer this question. Even if you have, we hope and think that you'll learn some new information here and learn about some tools and resources that maybe you didn't know about before. All right, so it looks like about a quarter of you, a little under a quarter, say that you've used it often, about 40% occasionally, and then over a third have not used the MRSC website. So that's great. That's a good breakdown. And like I said, hopefully you'll find something really useful here that will allow you to make use of our website. So give me just a minute while I switch over to our homepage. Okay, so this is the MRSC homepage, mrsc.org. And on the homepage itself, we have several feature items. So whatever the most recent blog post that we have published is always featured here. We also have our main feature item, which usually we change every couple weeks to highlight the recent work that we've been doing. Lately, because of the incredible and wide-ranging impacts of COVID-19, we've just kind of had our COVID-19 resources here. So I'm going to show you that just for those of you who may not have used it or may not be as familiar with it. So this is our one-stop shop for everything COVID related. So this has a lot of information and guidance that has been compiled by our staff members. It also has links to a number of resources from the state of Washington, as well as other organizations and associations that have been providing some great information on this. So you can see we have a number of pages here. We have frequently asked questions related to COVID-19. We have links to the governor's proclamations and state guidance that are specific to local government operations, information on emergency declarations and authority, operations and personnel issues, which includes telecommuting, remote meetings, pay and leave issues, and many other areas. We've got information on revenue and fiscal impacts, as well as small business and tenant assistance programs. Like Tracy said, our staff has also been writing a lot of articles, a lot of blog posts about this topic, so you can see all of our blog posts. I'm just going to click on this real quick. You can see all of our blog posts with the most recent first. So you can see ones here about election season rules, as well as guidance for using CARES Act grants for small businesses. I'll go back real quick. And then if you scroll down, we have, like I said, some links to additional resources, great state resources, some of the other local government associations, law firms, and then some national resources as well. So if you're looking for information on COVID-19 and its impacts on local government operations, I encourage you to start here. Now, for our website in general, there are basically two ways to navigate it, to look for information. So there is our website search, which appears, we have a search bar at the top of every page on our website. And then we also have these drop-down navigation menus here. So I'm going to demonstrate both of these options here. I'm going to start with the website search. Now, this is a really great place to look for information if you're not really sure where to look for it or where to find it. So generally speaking, simpler search terms are better than more complex terms. That said, we recently did a complete top to bottom overhaul of our website search and have really improved its functionality. So I'm going to kind of show you that in just a minute. I'll enter, let's take a look at one of our top search terms these last few months, COVID-19. So this gives you an idea of just how much content we have been publishing about COVID-19. You can see there are 389 search results. The very first one is that table of contents page that I showed you earlier. But this is a lot of information. And so if you're looking to kind of hone in a little bit, you have this option here that is relatively new to refine your results. And so you can actually focus in on just one type of content or one section of our website. So you can look for information on topic pages, blog posts, publications, sample documents, and a few other categories. If you're not entirely sure what these categories mean, you can actually hover over this little question mark icon next to any of them and get a brief description or definition. So you can see the blog post, that's short articles on new legislation, court decisions, emerging issues, and best practices. Topic pages provide topic overviews, including legal guidance, practice tips, examples, and more. So I'm just going to click on this topic page filter real quick. And you can also see how many documents are in each category. So you can see there are 35 topic pages here related to COVID-19. I'll just choose one of these as a quick example. So we have a page, like I mentioned, on small business and tenant assistance programs. With COVID-19, I do feel like it's at least started to, the flood of information has started to slow down a little bit. earlier on, for the first several months, it seemed like this information was changing on an hourly basis, and we were just constantly making information to these pages. We haven't been making updates quite as frequently lately as things have kind of stabilized, but you can see we just published, we have this list of latest updates here to help you stay up to date and know what's changed rather than having to keep track of it yourself. So you can see just this morning we published an update, a link to some great guidance from the State Department of Commerce and the Association of Washington Cities on how to make sure that your agency is submitting CARES Act reimbursement invoices correctly. There have been a couple of common issues in particular that have caused delays in reimbursement. So we try to provide that sort of information. With any of our pages, you can also click on the On This Page drop-down menu, and you'll see an overview of the topics that are covered here. So if you're looking for information, for instance, on utility collection and deferrals, shutoffs, payment plans, you can click on this and it will take you to that particular part of the website, of the web page. Now, I'm gonna scroll up here and collapse that. I'll do another example. So another very common topic is the Public Records Act. In any other year, this would probably be our most popular topic. Again, you can see we've got 369 search results here, which is a lot. Now, our search by default prioritizes our topic pages and blog posts, but let's say that you're looking for something else. So let's say you're looking for sample documents, you're looking for a PRA policy or procedure that has been adopted by other jurisdictions. So again, you can use this refine your results option, and you can see that we've got 41 sample documents that match this search term. And once you select that, you'll see that the search results have been narrowed to just those 41 documents. Now, with sample documents, you can actually go one step further and you can refine it by the type of sample document. So whether that's fee and rate schedules, forms, ordinances and resolutions, policies and procedures, RFPs, etc. So in this case, we're looking for a PRA policy and procedure. You can see that we've got 22 of those. I'll click here. And now you can see, so in just 2 clicks, we've gone from like 368 search results down to a much more narrowly targeted list of 22 search results that are just policies and procedures related to the Public Records Act. Most of the sample documents in our library are PDFs, and so if you click on this one, for instance, the first one for the Snoqualmie PRA policy, you can see this is actually a PDF copy of the City of Snoqualmie's PRA resolution and policy that's hosted on our website. So you can see the resolution here with all of the whereas statements. And then as I scroll down, then you get to the PRA rules themselves. All right, I'm gonna go back now. One other way to look for sample documents is through our, under our research tools, we have our sample document library. And so let me click on that here. This sample document library allows you to search for sample documents, very similar to what we were just doing. It also allows you to browse for sample documents, so you can see all of the sample documents that are in our library. Now, for most circumstances, I would say that searching is probably going to be the more powerful tool, but let me show you what the browsing feature does just so you can get an idea of it. So let's say that you want to take a look, you're looking for franchise agreements. You can select franchises and click go. And here you will see all of the franchise agreements that are in our library. You can see we've got 90 of them. And then you get the name of the franchise agreement, the jurisdiction that signed that agreement, and the date that it was adopted. And again, if you click on any of these documents, you're going to get a PDF version of that document. I'll go back here. Like I said, searching is the other way to look for documents. So you can use this search bar within the sample document library. Let's take a look at another term that's been very popular of late, and that's electronic signatures, obviously due to the impact of COVID-19. The search by default searches all sample documents. You can also use this drop-down menu to refine your search more. These categories are the exact same that you'll find in our main website search. This is just a different way of getting there. And here you can see, searching all sample documents, you can see the electronic signatures policies that we have in our library. I'll do one more example. One of our categories is job descriptions. So let's say that you're a water sewer district and you're looking to update your general manager job description. You can type in general manager, and you can either search all sample documents or you can drill down and just focus on job descriptions. Click go, and then here you can see the job descriptions that we have that match that search term, as well as the jurisdiction that it's from and the year that those job descriptions were reviewed or adopted. Now, just as a reminder, these documents, they're examples. They have been reviewed by our staff members. We try to include a variety of examples, so we make sure that we're including examples from, for instance, for cities, we try to make sure we're including large, mid-size, and small cities. We try to make sure that we have some geographical diversity and representation. So we recognize that obviously what Seattle is doing is not going to be that helpful or relevant to many of those jurisdictions in other parts of the state that have very different needs. So we try to find examples from Eastern Washington, Central Washington, other different parts of Western Washington. Same thing with counties. We try to get geographical representation as well as providing examples from smaller and larger jurisdictions. And then we also try to provide representation for special purpose districts, fire districts, ports, transit districts, hospital districts. There are quite a lot of special purpose districts. Now, at any time, if you can't find what you're looking for, as long as you're one of the eligible agencies, you can just use our Ask MRSC service. So you can access that in this toolbar on the right, or as Tracy mentioned, at the very top of our website on any page. And I'm actually I'll click on this real quick, just for those of you who may not have used this service, just so you can kind of see what this looks like. So this is our option to submit questions electronically. We also have the phone numbers here to call our staff members. As Tracy mentioned, our staff are working almost entirely remotely right now, but you can still call and contact them. We do provide an overview of what agencies are eligible. So all cities, towns, counties, and state agencies, as Tracy mentioned, are automatically eligible. And then hundreds of special purpose districts are also eligible through our contracts with various special purpose district associations. Now, if you're one of those organizations, you're not sure, you're a special purpose district, for instance, and you're not sure if you're eligible, feel free to contact us and we can let you know. And then you can select your agency type here, whether that's city, county, or other government entity. I'll just click, let's just do the A's. So I selected city, and then select the first letter of your city. You select your city name. And then on this next page, you'll see this is the form for you to actually submit your question. You enter your contact information. There's an option here. This is relatively new, to select your inquiry category. This is to help us direct your question to the right place and answer it as quickly as we can. So you can select whether it's a finance question, legal, procurement, etc. If you're not sure, you can also hover over these question mark icons and get, again, a little definition of it. Now, we do recognize that there are plenty of questions that fall into gray areas, or that might fall under multiple categories. You might have a question that is both legal and financial in nature. So just pick the best category that you think is appropriate. We also do have an unsure category if you really have no idea. One way or another, we'll make sure that your question gets to the right place. This is just to help us kind of expedite that process. You submit your question in this research request form. And then you also select the urgency of the question. So many of our questions, we respond within 3 business days, but we also recognize that there are situations that, that call for a different response time. There are some times where a question might be a kind of part of a longer term research project, and maybe you don't need an answer for another month or so. There are other times where you need an answer right now because you've got a council or commission meeting tonight. And so you might need to select as soon as possible, in which case we'll ask you to clarify. And then if you need a response like right now by the end of today, we do encourage you to call us. Just that way you can immediately get in touch with somebody. All right, so now I'm going to go through the toolbars, the drop-down menus at the top of our website. So I'll just go from left to right here. So our research tools, I've already talked about a couple of them. This provides one more way to access our Ask MRSC service. This is also where you can find our sample document library. I'll show a couple other ones too. We have a city and county website search. This is a really great tool if you are trying to search for information that cities and counties have posted to their websites. So this is actually a custom Google search that MRSC has curated that only searches city or county websites in the state of Washington. So what you can do, let's say that you are a county official and you're looking for information that other counties have posted online regarding their critical areas ordinances. You can actually type in critical areas and search. And here you can see you're still on the MRSC website, but the search results here are all from different county websites. So you can see King County, Whatcom County, Snohomish, Spokane, Thurston, Adams County. All of these links will actually take you to that county's website if you click on them. So I'm going to click on this Adams County example here. You can see this is a link. We're actually on the Adams County website now, and this shows the frequently asked questions that they have posted about critical areas. These links open up in a new tab, so the MRSC website is still open. So I'm going to go ahead and just close out this tab, which will take me back to those search results. Again, we have another one that is specific to city websites. Some other tools that we have our city and town profiles and our county profiles. I'll show you the city and town profiles here. So this provides information on all 281 cities and towns in Washington. Our county profiles provide information on all 39 counties. And you can see here a listing of all of the cities in alphabetical order, as well as their most recent population numbers. These are the OFM population estimates that were updated just a month or so ago, as well as the county they're in, the classification of the city, and the form of government, whether it's mayor, council, or council manager. If you click on any of these entries, you'll see more detailed information about that particular jurisdiction, including contact information, links to their municipal codes and comprehensive plans if they're available online, and much more. You can also search, you can also sort this information by city classification, for instance, or form of government. So if you click on these arrows next to form of government, you will actually see, so now here's the same list, but here you're seeing all of the council manager cities first. And so you can scroll down and see all of the council manager cities, and then you keep going, and now you get to all of the mayor council cities. I'll scroll back up here to the top. A few other research tools I'm not going to demonstrate right now, but just kind of want to let you know that they're there. We have a local ballot measure database that if your jurisdiction is considering sending a ballot measure to voters, you can look for information on how other similar ballot measures may have fared. We also have links to city and county codes for all of the cities and counties that have their codes published online. Our Find Your Contracting Requirements tool is great for those of you involved in procurement. You simply select the type of project that you're working on, whether that's public works or a purchase or a service contract, and then you select your agency type, and it will return your competitive bidding and procurement requirements, as well as links to the relevant statutes for your particular agency. We also have links to state websites for the RCW's WACs and court decisions. And then we have a utility liens and shutoffs tool for those utilities out there that are trying to determine whether you can impose a lien or shut off service in a particular requirement. Although some of those requirements have been temporarily superseded by the governor's proclamations due to COVID-19. Next up is Explore Topics. So these are those topic pages that I mentioned earlier that provide guidance on a wide variety of legal, policy, and financial topics. On the left here, you'll see a list of popular topics. These are some of our core areas, some of the most popular areas where we get questions and website activity. Some of them are kind of evergreen topics that are always there, things like the Public Records Act, the Open Public Meetings Act, purchasing and contracting. Others of them are more timely, like coronavirus, family and medical leave, which had some new requirements that took effect on January 1st, which feels forever ago at this point, but is still relatively recent. And then now that we're going into late summer and approaching the fall, we're going into local government budget season. So we have information on budgeting. I'll just click on this. All of these popular topics provide kind of a one-stop shop for all of our information related to those particular topics. We also have under Explore Topics a list of all of our topics. Now these are 12 very high-level categories that can allow you to look for the information that we provide on particular areas. So for instance, let's take a look at planning. You can see this is a list of all of our topic pages on a wide variety of planning issues. And if you click on any of those, you'll be taken to that particular topic page. Some of the recent projects that we've been working on our topic pages, in addition to all of the work we've been doing on COVID-19, include utility taxes. We just published a couple days ago a complete overhaul of our information on city utility taxes, including a new court decision that came down recently. We also recently redid our page on local transit authorities and funding sources for transit agencies out there, as well as information on incompatible offices and new legislation regarding anti-discrimination laws. Under Stay Informed, this is where you can access recent blog posts. This is also where you can sign up for our e-newsletters, which I would highly encourage you to do if you haven't already. We also provide some other links, including our quarterly print newsletter and links to recent articles that have been in the news that are relevant to local agencies. The training menu, this is where you can get information on our upcoming webinars as well as our archived webinars. So if we've offered a training webinar in the past, in the last couple of years, and you haven't been able to attend it, you can sign up there. In many cases, I would say most of our trainings offer continuing education credits from various organizations. And so you can, in many cases, receive credits even for webinars that we've offered previously. We also have a PRA and OPMA e-learning course, which is a free video course for city and town elected officials that we provide in conjunction with the Association of Washington Cities. Publications, these are the very comprehensive PDF documents that I mentioned earlier that discuss core local government issues, things like procurement and competitive bidding, public records, open public meetings. We have some great publications on knowing the territory for elected officials to help you, make sure that you're aware of the various legal requirements and restrictions. We have a mayor and council member handbook that is similar and produced in partnership, again, with the Association of Washington Cities. Some of our recently updated publications, just a couple of weeks ago, we published our annual budget suggestions document. This is for cities and counties in particular, and is something we've been publishing every year dating back to World War II. So almost 80 years at this point, I believe. So this has information, we try to make our publications as interactive as possible so you can navigate through them. You can see the table of contents providing information about the budget process, about population estimates and how we arrived at some of our calculations, as well as economic factors and indications about what's going on with the state and national economies. Obviously, that information is a lot more fluid than normal right now and changes from month to month. So we've got information about where to turn to make sure you're getting the most recent information. And we try to provide that information as well on our website and through our blog posts. It also provides information on recent legislation that might impact your budget, as well as information about core revenues such as property and sales taxes and state shared revenues. So you can click on any of these sections and be taken directly to that part of the document. We also have a few timely budget articles that we think are especially relevant this year and will hopefully help you during your budget development process. You can also at any time navigate back to the table of contents from the back of or from the bottom of these publications. I'm going to go back to our publications page here and some of the other recently updated publications. We recently rewrote and republished our annexation publication for cities and towns. Last year, we launched a new Public Records Act technology guide in partnership with the State Auditor's Office Center for Government Innovation. This is a great tool for particularly geared for those small and mid-sized jurisdictions that are looking for the right software solutions to your public records management needs. And then we also just updated our city and county revenue guides. We completely redid these documents last year. I want to specifically mention them this year because, again, we're going into budget season. And I'll open up this is our city and town revenue guides. Like I said, we also have one for counties. We don't have one specific to special purpose districts, but a lot of the information in here is still relevant and valuable to special purpose districts. So many special purpose districts are primarily dependent on property taxes, and we have a very extensive explanation of how property taxes work. So your individual property tax rates may be different and the statutory authority may be a little different, but the general understanding of how this very complicated topic works is still going to be the same. Same thing with sales taxes for transit districts, for instance, who collect sales taxes. We've got information on sales tax timing and receipts and rate changes. For our more recently updated publications, what we've also been including is a revision history. So you can see not just when the document was updated most recently, but also what changed, and as well as links to go directly there. So you can see we've updated information on validation and voter turnout requirements, as well as utility taxes for cities. And if you click here, you'll be taken directly to that utility taxes section. Again, you can go back to the table of contents at any point from the bottom of these pages. Back to the MRSC website, and just a couple final wrap-up items. As Tracy mentioned, we do have our rosters program. That has a separate website and is administered somewhat separately, but we do have a link to it at the top of our website. If you click on that, that will take you to the dedicated rosters website. We also have a contact us form. If you notice anything on our website, such as a broken link, or you have a comment about information that we've provided, please feel free to get in touch. We love getting feedback from our users. It really helps us to develop and improve our content and make sure that we're providing the most helpful and useful and relevant information that we can to local governments. But if you do have a question, a research question on a legal issue or a policy or finance issue, we encourage you to use the Ask MRSC feature rather than the Contact Us button. And with that, I am going to turn it back over to Tracy and give me just a minute to pull the presentation back up.
Thank you, Steve, for that really thorough and tour of our website. I know just looking at it, my head is almost swimming, and I work with the website every day. So what I think Steve is so good at is going through the pieces of the website one by one so that you can see where all the resources are. And, if you ever are wondering where information is, because there's a lot of information on our website, I'm really proud of the work that Steve and others within the communications and IT group here have done to improve our search. So really, that's a really good place to start. Just put in your search term and it will more often than not, and way more often than not, direct you to the resources that you are looking for. So help us spread the word about MRSC. It's important. Tell your colleagues about us, especially new hires, elected officials, invaluable for interns. Encourage them to sign up for our emails to stay up to date. And as we saw today, even existing staff members may not be aware of everything that is on our website. So you're now part of our group of evangelists. We have lots of folks who are very, very good at shouting out our, the help that we can provide and letting other folks know. So some jurisdictions include MRSC in their overview and their onboarding processes on day one for the new employees and elected officials. And other employees, I know I've heard many, many times, they use the MRSC website as their landing page when they open up their laptop nowadays or their computer. So those are some other ideas. So now's the time for you to ask us questions, anything you'd like to know about our resources, anything that you found confusing or wanted a little bit more information about. Please enter it into the question box now. And while you are doing that, just want to go over again some upcoming trainings and where we have registrations open. Our online permitting and plan review, lots of folks have had to stand that up rather quickly. So very good information there for folks who maybe have a long-standing program and are looking for changes or want to do something more robust than they've got. Budgeting strategies, First Amendment considerations for local governments, protests, petitions, social media, signs. This is a very relevant issue. And
I do want to mention, Tracy, that we also just opened registration for a webinar on, I believe, October 2nd for law enforcement records that does a deep dive. A lot of law enforcement agencies are getting increased requests for records these days, and so we'll be providing information to help those agencies understand the legal ins and outs.
Super. And then just if you haven't signed up for our e-newsletters, now is a good time to do that because it'll keep you up to date with the latest news and analysis from MRSC. So Steve, we've got some questions from the audience.
Yep, we've got a couple that have started to come in. So we have one question on, can you address how to submit sample documents? So yes, I'll go ahead and take this one. We are happy to receive sample documents from jurisdictions. We love to get them. Some of the sample documents that we include on our website are documents that our staff have gone out and found on our own, and some of them are documents that local agencies have submitted to us. So we love to see what you're up to. You can contact our staff, in particular our librarian, Gabby Nikas. Her information is available on our website under the staff directory. So she is really kind of the guru for managing all of our sample documents. Let's see, we've got another question here. We actually have somebody, I'm located in Alabama. Do you know if there is an organization similar to you all in my state? Tracy, do you want to?
Yes, we would. We wish there were. There are really very few organizations analogous to us in other states that provide the breadth of support that we do. I know there's one in Tennessee. California has got some great resources. In Alabama, I would suggest looking to your local universities. Oftentimes they will have, it may not be as in depth or have the breadth of MRSC, but they will often have research centers that do provide technical assistance to local governments. Yeah, and if you are in another state and are looking at this and would love to have something like this in your state, we're happy to provide help in terms of and guidance as to how MRSC started, and and potential ideas for funding sources for a resource like this.
All right, and I'll just add too that we are focused very much on Washington State and Washington State laws. But that said, I do know that we do have people who turn to us from other states and even from other countries. We've got some people who come to us from come to our website from Canada and various other places looking for information for local governments. So you may find some information that is useful. But again, you would absolutely need to make sure that you're following your own particular state laws. We have a question on how are you funded and how solid is that source of funding?
Oh, great question. We are funded through a share of state revenues related to liquor, state liquor taxes and franchise fees. So the state collects that revenue, and then they share a portion of it with cities and counties. So the cities and counties are very supportive of us having a small share right off the top of their revenues before they're distributed out. And that is our major source of funding here at MRSC. It's, we feel we provide a strong value for that. There's a lot of work that we've done to quantify the return on investment of that, which is very high in terms of time savings and support for local governments. So now, how solid is it? Of course, every budget year, and this coming legislative year will be a budget and one that will be particularly difficult and challenging for the state legislature. So we are communicating to them about the value of MRSC, and we always, need help with that messaging. The liquor, and sort of an interesting and unusual, side note to the COVID crisis is that the liquor revenues are climbing and are much higher than last year. But that doesn't mean that MRSC, or for that matter, any other agency that receives shared revenues, it's not a guarantee. This is a really tough budget year for the state. So our focus is on communicating the value of MRSC to our legislators so that, we can continue this work for you.
Okay, we have a question here related to the racial equity and inclusion issues and discussions that have been going on around the country. What % of your legal and finance consultants are Black Americans?
We do not have any Black Americans on our legal or finance staff at this time. We are recruiting for a finance consultant today, and we've made efforts at changing our hiring practices so that we get a more diverse pool of applicants. And so we're making efforts and looking at changing that. Thank you for that question.
Another question on for the sample policies on your website, how much work is put into making sure that what the policy outlines is allowable and legal? For example, if it's an employee recognition policy, does MRSC perform analysis making sure there isn't a gifting of public funds? I'll go ahead and take that one. So our staff does try to provide a basic level of vetting of these documents. We don't want to post any documents that are legally questionable. For instance, there have been a few specific exceptions where we have tried to make a note that some jurisdictions are taking a particular policy approach, and the legality may not be clear, but here are some examples in case your jurisdiction is interested in pursuing that, because some of those issues aren't going to get resolved unless there's a court decision or a new statute. That said, we, as Tracy mentioned, we are not your particular legal counsel, so we cannot provide an in-depth legal review of your exact document. You should turn to your own legal counsel or consultants for that, whether that's in-house or whether you contract for services. So we certainly encourage you to do that. I'm not seeing any other questions here. I'll leave it open for just a minute and see if anything else comes in. We will be posting a recording of this video to our website under the About MRSC page, and we will also be sending to you a survey shortly after this webinar asking for feedback, and we encourage you to take that. We're always looking for feedback on our webinars and on our services and how we can better serve you. Again, a reminder about our Ask MRSC service. And I think with that, I think we will wrap it up. So thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone. I hope you learned something new about MRSC and are able to take more advantage of our services as a result of this webinar. And thank you to our back-end support, to Paige and Leah, for helping us produce this webinar for you today.
All right, have a good day, everyone.